In this video, I'm going to argue that we need a new approach to designing and building learning materials that really meet the needs of our learners. At the moment, the normal way we do things is we build a set of e-learning courses, usually SCORM packages, and all the activities and the resources that are needed to support those activities are within each package. I'm going to propose that we do things a little bit differently and separate them out. So let me explain. Many years ago, I worked on a national project designed to help improve the flow of patients through hospitals. We created a fantastic set of e-learning packages, and then the users put them into practice through local workshops. The materials were full of masses of useful information, loads of tools, loads of techniques, and they were created by one of the experts in the field. So we took the materials and the workshops out to a pilot group. So they loved all the new ideas, they loved the new techniques, they loved the new tools. It was great, it was all new to them. However, what they didn't like so much was when they needed to find some of those ideas, some of those tools, some of those techniques later on. You see, the materials have been developed as a set of modules, a typical e-learning package. Each one had a sequence of pages to work through. Those pages contained masses of useful stuff, and that was great for people as they started out. They were taken through a carefully structured set of learning activities. And then at the workshops or afterwards, when they were on the wards, the problem was that when they wanted to find that nugget of knowledge that was in the middle of maybe module 2 or module 3 or whatever, you know it's there, but they had to guess which module it was in, and then had to work through each page in the module to find it. It didn't work for them. So what did we do? We kept all the modules as they were, but alongside them we took all the useful bits and pieces from the modules and put them in one place in a separate website. And we spend a lot of time making that website searchable and easy to navigate. Some while later, I came across these two people, Jay Cross and Kathy Moore. They are heroes in the field of e-learning. Now, this is a diagram from Jay Cross that I have used many times with many people. It shows that we need to adapt our methods to handle learners at different stages in their learning maturity on a particular subject. So you take the nurses that we were working with. At the beginning of the program, they had a very low learning maturity, so they needed the formal learning methods. That was what gave them the value. But later on, they'd been through the program, they knew the basics of it, but they needed to be able to find stuff quickly, and that's when the informal learning methods needed to come in play. The other key idea from Kathy Moore is this one, is her action mapping approach, which again I've used in many places. In a nutshell, it means you build your learning interventions as a sequence of practice activities, but then only the essential information for that activity provided at the point of need. So your learning interventions aren't just a series of content pages and you get them to read and read and read and read. You're actually getting them to try things out, to do things, to fail even. But as they're going through, you provide them support, you provide them guidance. Now those two ideas will combine in this new approach that I'm proposing. I say it's new. I'm sure other people are doing this, but I've not seen it. So let's go back to our original model. We've got our SCORM packages. They contain activities, they contain resources, all in each package. And we can use the action mapping approach within those packages. They can work through an activity and they can pull in resources from those packages. But what about the people who come back and want to find a particular resource? And what about the resources that are being used across multiple e-learning packages? You wouldn't want to have multiple copies of those resources, one for each package, because then if you need to update those resources, you've got a huge amount of work. So the approach I'm suggesting is that we separate the resources from the activities. We put the resources somewhere else, on a separate website or your intranet, anywhere that the activities can see them, but also the learners can go to the resources separately. Let's dig into that a bit more. So there are some key characteristics of resources that when we're going to be using it alongside e-learning. Let me talk you through them. So the first is that they're granular. I'm not saying you provide them just with a PDF and that's got all the stuff in and they have to go and search through it. No, you break it up into small chunks. So each chunk has an address, a URL. It's like a book but with a contents page that you can point to a specific section. Secondly, they need to be structured. Usually some sort of hierarchical structure using menus, so it allows people to browse it in a way that makes sense to them. So you've got to use language in that structure that people will understand. It's normal website information architecture. Thirdly, this is where it starts getting interesting. They need to be embeddable in that you can take that piece of content from the resource and embed it like a YouTube video inside your e-learning activities so they can be accessed at the point of need. And those embeddable resources, those embedded resources, need to be clutter-free. They shouldn't have all the gubbins, all the menus and the search boxes and other bits and pieces that you see within the website. They just need the content, the piece of stuff that's on that page that will help for that particular activity. The resources also should be searchable. So remember our nurses, they needed to go and find that bit of information, that particular tool or technique. Having a separate resource site with a search engine built in will enable them to do that. And finally, they should be ideally single source. So you only need one copy of any particular resource, not multiple copies. And ideally, those resources should be able to be produced in multiple formats from the one source. So from producing a website, an ebook or PDF. So I've done a small, simple proof of concept just to show to myself that it works, but also hopefully to show to you. So here's a web page. It's very ugly. It's just using a very basic HTML framework. We've got some menu at the top. They don't do anything because it's just basically a single page just showing you have menus. You've got your content in the center here. You've got some other stuff down the side and other bits of content all over the place. This is just a typical web page on an intranet or something like that. So then let's show how we can take that piece of content and put it inside an e-learning package. So this is it's a slideshow that I created in HTML, but it doesn't have to be a slideshow. This could be a SCORM package, but it's just to show you that it's possible. So here we have an activity within our e-learning package. We have a question, and we have an ability to get some help if we need to. Now when I click Get Help, a little pop-up appears. Not a pop-up that's going to get blocked. It's called a modal pop-up. If you're technical at all, it will appear overlaying the page, and it shows you that content, just the content from the page that we were looking at earlier. So it's anything that I've said within this page is within the thing that I want to be embedded. So it's granular. I've only got that particular piece of content. It's searchable because there was a search engine within the content page. It is embeddable, so it is just this piece of content, and it is clutter-free. There's no gubbins around the side, no navigation, and so on. So here's how it would work conceptually. We've got our modules here. And those modules, as you're working through them, will pull in items from the resources site. So that piece of content here might come in when we're working through Module 2 and we click Get Help. So finally, a little bit of technical stuff. Ajax is one way we could do this. Ajax is a way for you to use JavaScript to pull in content from a particular chunk of another web page. However, there are security constraints. It doesn't always work, particularly if you've got websites sitting on different domains. Your LMS is sitting on your LMS provider's website and your resources are sitting in your intranet. It probably won't work. So the way I'm suggesting that we do things is as a Chromeless iframe. Now the iframe bit is the easy bit. Iframe means you embed another page, a web page, within your existing page. Chromeless means you remove all the gubbins, all the bits around the outside. Now that is entirely possible depending on how your resource site has been designed. So normally you'd have your resource site might be from url.com/something, and if we build our resource site right, we could add a parameter or something on the end of it that says Chromeless is true, and then it will only pull the stuff from that page that the Chromeless bit has said you can pull that piece of embeddable content. So here's an example. So Hibbit's Design does a lot of work in Grav, which is a content management system, an open source content management system, which I really love. And this is a typical page from one of his demo sites. It's got a header, it's got a page title, you've got a menu button here, and if you went further down there are other bits and pieces. Now when that page is embedded with Chromeless equals true, you only see the bit that's here on the right, the bit that has the content that we want to see. So just to show this, the technology is out there to do all this. We just need to decide that this is something we want to do.